I'm Diana, and I'm from Littleton, Colorado. I play the flute, and I like to joke that I got into composition by accident. In high school, I got really interested in arranging Christmas music for flute quartet. Um, and so the first thing I ever arranged was Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, and all of the flute players in Denver just loved it. And like we have these little Christmas parties, all day parties where like we sight read quartets with Christmas music. So that's why I was arranging them for. And so my flute teacher was like, "Oh, you should try writing something." So then I wrote the flute quartet in high school, and yeah, that was my first piece. And yeah, somehow we got here. So
What was the name of your first piece?
that's actually a really funny story. So it's it's technically called The Music of Water. But so it was going to be three movements, but then the flute people in Colorado got really interested in it. And they wanted to play at the National Flute Association convention. And so Christina Jennings had to put a place title in the application. And so the two movements I had were about water. So she called it the music of water. And so it's called the music of water because that's what it was in the things, and I wanted ASCAP to know what it was. So I didn't really title it. It got titled for me. Um, but it's the first movement is ocean, the second movement is rain, and it's basically just a love letter to the flute because um when I think of instrument sounds, they make me think of specific things, if that makes sense. So when I think of the flute, it makes me think of water. And so I want to write a piece about water because I love the flute and yeah.
If you had to write a piece that's for the most difficult instrument for you to write for, or an instrument that you can't really handle listening to, what would it be?
That's interesting. So for a long time, I would say that I hated the clarinet. And that's mostly because there's a clarinet player who I didn't get along with so much. And so just recently I've been realizing that maybe I don't hate the clarinet. Maybe it's that one person that I didn't like. So um yeah, but probably the most difficult instrument to write for, I think, would maybe be guitar. I've written a solo piece for classical guitar, but it just is way different, especially since I play the flute. Like it's just way different thinking. But I love the classical guitar.
So, if you were not a composer, what do you think you would be doing?
Well, when I was in elementary school, I really wanted to be a marine biologist. So I could really imagine myself doing that because I'm still really interested in science and nature and biology and stuff. So I could see myself doing that. Or when I was in middle school, I really wanted to be an animator. I really like drawing and art and stuff, so I could also see myself doing that.
So if I gave you $1 million, the Bowman Fellowship, you get $1,000. But if I gave you $1 million, who would you write for and what would you write? Like, what would be your dream project?
So I've always really been drawn to orchestra, and so I play the flute, but the piccolo is my jam. Like I'm like borderline obsessed with the piccolo. And so I think it'd be really cool to write like a really big piccolo concerto with like full orchestra. Um, and I don't know who I'd want to play it. If you would have asked me a few years ago, I would have said the New York Phil, but now I don't know.
Do you have a flutist or flautist in mind?
Oh my. I have so many friends who are such great flute players. Yeah, it's hard to pick one. I don't know.
I have there's like a piccolo woodblock piece by David Lang, and a friend of mine played it, and we joked about me writing a piece for the same instrumentation so that, you could build a concert of entirely piccolo woodblock pieces. And it's called Piccolo Broccolo because she's going to play it on broccoli as well. So that's my contribution to the repertoire in my imagination. Maria, I know you wanted this to be about me. So.
Is this a real piece?
Not yet, but we're talking about imaginary pieces, yeah?
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
Dream pieces for piccolo.
I mean, why not? Piccolo and what was it?
Broccoli, the vegetable.
Oh, the
Hollowed out.
vegetable. Well, you know, you could literally do a Claire Chase Angelica Negron on vegetables collab. So, and that actually I would go to anyway, but
There
enough
and
about Gemma.
Alaka.
Tell us about your favorite musicians, and it can be your classical composer influences or your guilty pleasures. Like, I really like Green Day personally, so there's no judgment.
She's not even guilty about it. She just like openly likes them.
I love them.
I mean, right now I'm really interested in this band called Twisted Pine. It's kind of like a bluegrass meets rock meets indie music mashup. And I just really enjoy their music. They have a flute player in it, and you don't really hear that in a whole lot of things. And it just makes me really happy. I also really like the band Top House. There's a song called The Mountain Song, and it just makes me so happy. It reminds me of like climbing the mountains with my dad. And yeah, so I got my Spotify Wrapped this week, and it said that I listened to it 89 times this year. So I don't know if that means anything, but yeah,
Sticking with
yeah.
the theme of like guilty pleasures, what's your favorite like terrible TV show?
I mean, I don't know if it's terrible, but I really like Parks and Rec.
That's a great show.
Show.
Oh, I mean more like for me, it's Sister Wives. It's a terrible,
Oh yeah.
ultimately terrible show, but I
I
can't
love
stop.
Super Nanny. It's an excellent show. Also, To Catch a Predator.
Oh,
Really, really great stuff.
I like some true crime documentary things. I always like a good mystery. There's this one show on Netflix that I just binge watched recently, and it's called like The Worst Ex-Roommate or something. And there's like these
Oh,
crazy
yeah.
people who like some of them have literally like murdered their roommates, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So
The one with the old lady was
yeah.
insane.
I watched all of those. What are you thinking? So you just met the pianist Claire, who you're going to write for. Have you thought about what you would like to write for her and the kind of piece that you want to create for the fellowship?
I've thought about it a little bit. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of time for ideas to percolate. Um, but I think I want to write something that has like I've been really interested in counterpoint lately, so I wanted to have like a lot of like dense counterpoint and like grooves, and it's hard to explain, but yeah, I want it to be really fun, and I want to feel kind of like the color periwinkle. I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to anyone else, but I think in colors a lot with my music. So I want it to feel like periwinkle.
We need to get
Yeah.
the Pantone color for that to like.
And speaking of the extra musical influence, so what kind of drives your work? What are your influences?
Uh, well, I get a lot of inspiration from nature. Like I said, I'm kind of a science nerd, and so I really enjoy like learning how things work on a scientific level. I'm actually writing a piece right now for Oboe Trio. And it's about like climate change and ecosystems in Michigan. And I've had a lot of fun with that. Like sometimes I think I do a little bit too much research for pieces, but it's been really fun to like learn how the different things work. Like I learned there's this thing called a fen, which is basically a wetland. It's the same thing as a bog, but a little bit different. And it's really important because it has peat moss on it, and the peat moss is a carbon sink that like it absorbs more carbon than it admits into the atmosphere. But when people are like destroying these ecosystems for development or harvesting the peat, then it actually releases all that carbon into the atmosphere. So I think it's really interesting how it like is like a really good thing in terms of carbon, and it can also be a really bad thing at the same time. And so I guess just like finding the stories within like the way things work, that's really fascinating to me. I also like, yeah, so on that story thing, like I feel like my music always has to like mean something. And so it always like tells some sort of story. Even if it's not so concrete as like this happened and then that happened and that happened. Like it still tells a story in a way that's really important to me too.
How do you find the story or, the science that you've described? How do you find it manifests in the music through the material, or is it more conceptual and abstract?
I mean, sometimes it like is literally in there. So like I did a piece about wildfires a few years ago. And so with that one I wanted to imitate literally what it would look like for a wildfire. So it starts really small, like a little spark, and then it gradually grows into like a raging fire. It's like this huge texture. And then when the fire is over, there's a lot of ash and smoke in the air. And so it's like this eerie lingering of like the smoke and the devastation that happens after the fire. And with that one in particular, it was about pine cone. And there's a specific pine cone in Colorado from the lodgepole pine where the seeds are that so it's called a serotinous cone, and that means that the pine cone is covered in sap, and in the fire, it melts the sap, and then the seeds are released. So literally, the next generation of the forest is born from the fire, and that's the way that the tree operates. And so with that one, like I found the story of like the devastation, and then down to nothing, and then like sparks of life after.
It's really beautiful.
That is actually gorgeous. What is your process generally? So, how do you start? It sounds like you have all these beautiful concepts, and then what happens? How does the music happen?
Yes. Well, I can actually show you something I'm working on right now. So I don't know if you can see this very well.
More or less, we can't bring it closer a little bit. Yes.
So this is one of the movements of my oboe piece. And so I kind of like draw out the form before I do anything. And I try to think through like how I want the piece to feel and like kind of what I want to happen when. So I kind of have a roadmap for when I'm actually writing music. Um, that like I know like where I'm going and what I want to do. It's not like permanent, like things can change. Like I'm not like it has to be exactly this way, but it really helps me plan it out ahead of times, and I'm a really visual person. So it helps me to see it before I try to do stuff. It helps me to think with it in front of me like that.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And it makes so much sense with everything else that you were discussing, right? With the whole imagery of nature, but also the colors. And tell me, for you, what's the hardest part usually in the process, and how have you dealt with writer's block?
Yeah. So I think the very hardest part is writing the first bits of notes. That's the very hardest. And like I don't know about you guys, but it seems like every single time when I go to write a piece, I'm like, do I actually know how to do this? Like what am I doing? And then I start to get into it. I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. And then I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Everything sucks. And then I'm like, oh, it's actually pretty good. And then I'm like, oh, the deadline is coming up and I need to be done. And then I like push really hard and then it gets done. Um, but like those first few notes, like the blank page is just the most intimidating thing. And I actually I worked through The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron this past year, and that was really, really transformational. for me as a human and an artist, the biggest thing I learned from that is you just have to be patient with yourself and kind to yourself. And your job is to show up and do the work. Whether the work is good or not, you're not the judge of that for today. Like, all you can control is showing up and doing the work. And then somehow over the course of the time that you're working on it, it'll work itself out. And not everything has to be in the piece. I wrote a string quartet a little while ago, and I think I wrote like 50 or 60 pages of music, and only 25 pages made it into the piece. And so, like, giving yourself permission, make mistakes and not be perfect, and you don't have to use every idea, that has been really freeing for me.
You're so wise. 25. Like I wish I had come to some of those realizations before now. That's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came across the Bowman Fellowship Program, and what drew you to apply?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I've been like wanting to do this for a few years. Like, I'm always like, oh, that would be so cool, but I'm not good enough. Like, um, and I challenged myself this year to get 100 rejections. And so I applied, and I honestly did not think I would get it. And I'm like, well, I'll just get another rejection to put on my list, and all I can do is say I applied, and that's all I can control. And then I was like, wait, what? Like, what? So, I'm like super excited, and I never thought that I would be good enough for something like this. Um, and I'm just so thankful for the opportunity. So,
I'm
Yeah.
sorry we ruined your rejection streak.
I'm
Gosh.
at 22 this
Oh
year.
God. You lost that bet with yourself, I think, but that's a really clever idea.
Yeah, we're excited. We're so excited to work with you. And I think it's a really good lesson for other people. Just I have a massive rejection streak this year as well. And I don't think I have a win yet, but I feel like I have a win working with the three Bowman Fellowship fellows this year and every year. And yeah, the idea that you just keep applying for things and be patient and be kind to yourself. That's so, so important for all artists.
Well, and my motto with this whole rejection thing is no doesn't mean never. It just means not right now. And so that's been really cool too, because like it really flips your mindset if you're like celebrating your rejections rather than like putting all this weight and like anticipation into trying to get all these things. And just understanding that you never know what you're gonna get, and like there's so many external factors that go into things. And like you can't take those things personally. It doesn't mean anything about you. It just didn't happen, and just gotta keep on going.
So mature and so wise. Remind me to call you next time I get one of those thank you for applying to so and so emails,
I
okay?
think that we're going to have to take lessons from Diana rather than the other way around.
Yeah, that's, and your presence is so comforting.
Thank
It's,
you.
yeah. Big question. Um, Ideally, what would you be doing in 10 years?
That's really interesting too. My concept of that has changed so many times, and even just the past couple years. In a perfect world, I would have a cute little old house, and I want a giant sulcata tortoise, and I want a big kitchen so I can cook lots of baked goods for people, and have a big garden that I can have garden concerts. And I like flower farming, so I need to have lots of space to plant dahlias and roses. And I can bake bread in the morning and then go and write some music, and then um like do whatever, and then have friends over and make pizza for them and have string lights in the backyard and just play music. That would be like perfect. Um don't know if that will ever happen, but that would be really amazing.
Do you see parallels between baking and composing?
I mean, I guess probably the biggest parallel would be especially with bread making, like you have to be patient. You have to be so patient with bread making because it takes, like when I make sourdough, it takes 2 days to make the sourdough with all of the different parts. And I feel like that's a lot like composing, where like you don't always see where something's going, but you just have to trust the process that'll turn out in the end. And sometimes it can be quite long and feel like it's taking forever, but once you get there, it'll be so good.
Meeting composers who have other hobbies is just amazing. Because I'm like, I feel like people will ask me, "What's your hobby?" I'm like, music? I don't know.
It's not true. You like gardening.
I haven't gardened at all this year.
Oh, you're terrible.
I know. I mean, I tried to like put in some native plants outside, but they all died now. Hopefully they'll come back in the spring. We don't know, but I haven't done any veggies this year.
I'm growing avocado trees.
How's that going?
It's going really good. I have 6 of them going, but only 2 of them are really growing now. But I started them at different times because they were leftovers from dinner. Um, but one of them is like this tall and it has like maybe 8 leaves on it, and it just is really cute. It makes me really happy.
One day
So,
you're going to be able to have avocado toast with
yes.
your own avocados, your own sourdough, and I will be there to help you eat it. Yum,
Yeah,
yum.
I really want to make uh like the ultimate caprese sandwich. So I can make my own sourdough bread, and then I have my own basil plant, and I can make pesto. And then I can grow my own tomatoes, and then I really want to try making mozzarella cheese from scratch. It really doesn't look that hard. And so I can like, yeah, I just think that would be so much fun. And then be like, I made all of that.
You're an
That's not
incredible human.
bad.
Yeah. What baked good did you bring to Claire? I know you said you were bringing her something, and I was jealous, of course.
Yeah, I made maple walnut pecan sticky buns.
I'm sending you my address through the chat.
That is the most American thing I have ever heard of. Not just a
It was
baked
so
good,
good.
American in general. That's amazing.
Texting or talking on the phone?
Uh, Texting.
Coffee or tea?
Heat.
Dogs or cats?
Tortoises.
Ooh. Favorite city in the US besides your hometown?
I went to Petoskey, Michigan this summer. It was really beautiful.
Favorite holiday?
Valentine's Day. I work at a cardiology office, and it's always like a huge deal. And like everybody wears red, and it's like a big thing. So it's kind of fun.
There are so many strange sides of you, Diana. This is incredible. Um, Romance or thriller?
I think I would go more thriller. Yeah.
Fill in the blank. Taylor Swift is.
Overrated.
Oh, this
I
interview
like
is done.
it.
You just lost your parachute.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
Favorite season?
Summer.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Pistachio.
Ooh, I agree. Say something in Spanish.
Hola.
Are rats cute?
No.
Do you have any phobias?
Yeah, too many to count.
Ooh, what's the best one?
I don't know. I don't really like driving long distances,
Hmm.
so maybe that one.
It's the true crime shows that we're all watching that give us that specific one. Ebooks or paper books?
Paper books.
Do you like Disney?
Yes,
Do you Instagram your food?
I don't have Instagram.
Good for you. Say something cool.
I'm not really cool. You should just not really care a whole lot about what other people think of you and just do your own thing and your best music, and you'll be the happiest when you do that. Yeah.
God damn it, Diana, that was beautiful.
She works in a coffee shop. She works for a cardiologist. She's a
She
therapist.
bakes.
She's a vet
Those
and,
are our fellows, you
and
know?
a hockey player.
That, yeah, this is incredible. Thank you all for joining us today. Thanks, Diana, for sharing your wisdom and beautiful like words of inspiration. And we'll see you all next time.
Like and subscribe.